Hello, it's good to see you. Today I wanted to give you a little update on some of the gossip. Well, not really gossip, I don't have a ton of gossip really. I just wanted to give you a little update on my neighborhood. A lot of people like to hear about my neighborhood, and it's been a little bit. You know, it seems like in this neighborhood we'll go for periods where it's kind of quiet, and then stuff kind of bubbles to the surface. It's been difficult. I was conflicted about making videos about my neighborhood when I was a member of the homeowners association. I was a board member. Yesterday was my last day. I am no longer a board member. I decided not to be on the ballot again this time. So the way it works here where I live in this the little area I live in, so if you want to be a board member of the HOA, the Homeowners Association, you have to request that your name be put on the ballot, and then you have to have like 2 people second you or whatever. It's not hard to get that, but so they're always asking people to try, to run for the board. And so I did it for a while, and then they had to do a special election because there was a little incident, and I don't even know if I should talk about it. I mean, like, there are legal issues here. Okay, what can I say about it? Okay, I have a friend who lives in a neighborhood totally unrelated to me, and let's just say that this person was on their board, and it became known among some of the other board members that there were some people who had been on the board for a long time. Okay, sometimes people will get on the board and they just stay. They choose to stay on the ballot for each election. And people, well, let's be honest, most people in the neighborhood don't vote at all. We mail out the ballots, and then you can either fill it out and then mail it back, or drop it off at the office, or there's also a little website on there where you can go and do it online. Most people just throw it away. They don't vote. But those who do vote, they tend to vote for the same people every year, and I don't know if they know these people or if they just get used to seeing those names on the ballots. So they just pick the, like, oh, this person's been on the ballot for a long time. They must be really good. I'll vote for them again, And so I don't know if that's it, but this friend of mine there were 2 or 3 members on the board who had been on the board for, oh my God, probably like close to 10 years. And what they learned was, so when you pay your homeowners fees, it goes into one account for the homeowners association. They have a bank account, and it's not supposed to be affiliated with any of the board members in any way. And you're supposed to be very transparent about it. Well, apparently, somehow it slipped. It escaped everyone's notice for a long time. One of those board members, she was a cashier at a bank. She was like a bank teller. She worked the front window at the bank where the HOA had their account. And what happened was she was skimming money off the top. And the other 2 knew about it, and they were kind of in on it. And the other 2 that were involved, they were in charge of sending out the notices and stating how much the fees were. See, the fees went up significantly 2 or 3 years ago, before I was on the board. There's this big jump in the fees, and a lot of people complained, and they backed off. So what my friend is thinking is, they did this big jump, like this huge, like 30% increase in the HOA fees. But then they backed it off, so it was only a 15%, because we're thinking that's what they wanted to do all along. But that increase wasn't real. It wasn't supposed to happen. Gross incompetence on the part of some people who were in charge, like the treasurer and some other people who should have known. They were pocketing that 15%. And the teller at the bank was just taking the money and just sort of skimming it off, and nobody caught it for quite a while. Anyway, they got busted, and they found out that these 3 ended up sort of siphoning off like thousands of dollars. And they got busted. You know how they actually got busted? They didn't get busted because somebody figured it out. No, they got busted because they got cocky. They got really cocky. The three of them decided to go on a trip to Machu Picchu in freaking, what is that, Peru? I don't even know. But they went on this 3-week trip. Like, I don't know. There was a cruise involved. There was a cruise somewhere. And then they went to Peru. That's how they got caught, because they were putting pictures all over. And people started to get a little suspicious. Like, that's an expensive trip. How in the world? You know, I mean, I don't want to point fingers or anything. I don't want to be nosy, but how can they afford that? It was a very expensive trip from what I was told. Yeah, so then when that happened, then the treasurer started to kind of dig into it a little bit and started doing a little bit of investigation, and that's when they found out. That's how they got busted. So anyway, there are charges pending. They're going to press charges against these 3 people. Of course, they're not on board anymore. So my friend said, well, we have to do a special election. We're going to need to get some people in here because we need a certain number of people on the board. And they're out, so we got to find new people. So I felt really bad saying, look, I don't want to be on the ballot again. I don't want to run again. Oh, come on, you got to do it. You've had some good ideas. And I do. I had some ideas, and I see that they were implemented because our statements arrived in the mail today. And I see they implemented some of my stuff because this is the first statement we've received since I proposed some changes to it. Anyway, so I said, no, I don't want to run anymore. Look, it has caused nothing but problems for me. Because I got, people accusing me of being stuck up and like they can't talk to me now. I got people trying to bribe me, trying to get what they want, like my neighbor over here. I've always called him Joe. That's not his actual name. And Itchy and Scratchy over there. And they're always trying to bribe me for stuff. Because Joe is always up to he's always got some kind of plan. He tries to make it sound like he's being charitable, like he wants to help somebody, but it always ends up being really sleazy and kind of disgusting. He tried to bribe me, like he wanted to put a tiny house in his backyard, like a home for wayward women or something. Like, Joe, you cannot put a separate residence in your backyard. It's just not allowed. Well, can we call it a tree house? He wanted to call this not in a tree. You got women living back there. We cannot allow that to continue. That is not acceptable. He tried bribing me, and I said, now don't do that again, or I'm going to have to, you get in trouble. You're trying to bribe me. I mean, you can't get in trouble for that. Don't try to bribe me. You're not giving me anything. So, anyway, I decided I didn't want to be on the board anymore. So they had 4 slots my friend didn't want to be on the board anymore. So they had 4 slots they have to fill. So they've been going around and trying to, convince people to run for the board. And there's not a huge community here, but there are enough of us that it shouldn't be a problem to find people to run. But I'm staying out of it. All I did, and I'm a little sticky tonight because we went out for a walk. It's very hot, very humid outside. I mean, we're in central North Carolina. And it can get really humid here. I mean, I know further south it's worse, but we have our days up here. And I get out in that heat, and it just wears me out. But, so some of the board members and I went for a walk around part of the neighborhood and just, introducing ourselves and talking to some of the people, put a face to the name. Like, oh, yeah, I voted for you. I remember seeing your name, Because most people don't go to the board meetings. The only people who ever go are the people who have a beef with somebody, usually one of us. Like, they had a request and it was kind of ridiculous. And it's one guy allegedly, this is all alleged, hypothetical, theoretical. People don't like it when I use the word theoretical. I used it incorrectly, so I'm going to use it's theoretical. This one guy, the last board meeting that I attended, came in there, and it wasn't Joe. This was a neighbor I don't even know. I'd never seen this guy. He came in, and he said, I want to talk to y'all about a raffle. And he was being all shifty. He was just looking around like, I want to talk to y'all about a raffle. And I'm like, I mean, everybody gets an opportunity to speak. You can speak your mind. Like there's a portion of the meeting where if you wanna make a statement or something, we'll give you 3 minutes, and you can talk. But we do start a timer because people always try to go over, and they ignore the timer. So sometimes you want to throw the timer at them because they're blatantly ignoring it. So he was talking about doing this raffle in the community. Like we have this clubhouse kind of thing where you have like community events and stuff like that. We have like a big room in there, like kind of like a multi-purpose room, and we could do a raffle. And he said, look, I got friends that are cops. And he said that, and he just stopped, and he goes, I got friends that are cops. Like that was supposed, we're all sitting there like, and like it's supposed to mean something. We're going, we don't know what that means. Why don't you keep talking? And he said, look, it won't be a problem. That's all I'm saying. And wouldn't it be nice? We could raise some money. Because there's a portion of a brick wall up at one of the intersections. They got hit by a car, and it's all busted up. And I won't see it through, but we've been getting quotes to get it fixed because we'll have to use some of the fees to pay for the repairs. So he's saying, you could pay to fix stuff like that. You wouldn't have to dip into your own funds. We could do it. There are certain nights a week we could do it. And he starts naming cops, and we just stopped him. Like, you need to stop right there. You don't need to be mentioning people's names. Just that we don't do stuff like that. Because it's not really allowed here. We have very specific guidelines on how you do stuff like that. Because you stray into gambling territory, and some states are kind of weird about that kind of stuff. But it was kind of nice to walk around the neighborhood a little bit this evening. I went in right after work. We just met at the clubhouse, and I came home and changed first. So I said, let me go home and change because I'm in my work clothes. Let me go home, put on something a little more comfortable. So I did that, and so we just went out, and just whenever neighbors were outside, we would just stop and talk to them for a minute, and just explain, we're going to have an election coming up. If you or anyone might be interested in running for the board, and several of them said, oh, I wouldn't touch that because I hear about the mess y'all have to deal with, and the crazy requests and the complaints, and oh yeah, you get all the complaints. God, you get neighbors trying to be petty with one another, and they so and so is blocking my driveway, and you go out there, nobody's blocking their driveway, and like they're just trying to start trouble. Like, well, so and so had a grill right up next to their house, and like, well, we can't really do anything about that. If they burn their house down, that's kind of on them. We can't exactly stop them from doing that. So a lot of people were just not interested because they heard about how stressful it was. And it has been. I mean, because, there were certain nights a week that you have the meetings, and you have to prepare. If it's your turn to bring snacks or something, nobody is ever happy with the snacks you bring. People will complain like it has too much sugar in it, or it doesn't have enough sugar in it, or if you bring donuts, people say that's unhealthy, you shouldn't bring that mess here. I brought that vegetable tray that one time, and people just raised a stink over that. Like, nobody liked my vegetable tray. That was my first meeting. But I learned that people like bagels. So what I started doing was I would go get bagels. There's a place called Brugger's Bagels, and I would go get bagels and get them to slice them, just get a mix. And I had this big tray that I bought at the little thrift store, this big beautiful serving tray, and I just lay them out on that and have like the cream cheese and just different things you can put on there. And I found that bagels, we could pretty much all agree on that was okay. Some people complained about the carbs, but like, I can't please everybody, I'll bring some cheese sticks or something, but then people will complain about that. Well, I'm lactose intolerant. Like, I'm just going to bring you some water to chew on. How about that? I'll bring some diet water and you can chew on it. People take it personally if you bring snacks and they don't like them. It's like you're attacking them personally. Like you have it in for them. I'm just venting a little bit. I'm sorry. Hypothetically, I am not going to miss my rotation for bringing snacks because it just. But everybody went through it. Like that was one of our common complaints amongst ourselves. No matter what you bring, no matter what you do, it's like, are you here for the snacks? Or are you here to discuss things that matter about the neighborhood? I mean, what are you here for? So I did. I tell you what I have been working on. You know, Miss Margaret lives down the street. She's an older lady, and she's very sweet. I think I've told you a little bit about her. She's a really nice lady. She lives by herself. She's kind of on her own, and I try to help her out when I can. She doesn't drive, and sometimes she does like delivery, and she gets a lot of stuff from Amazon, so they just deliver it to her house, which is great. She doesn't have to go get it. And sometimes she'll do delivery for groceries and stuff like Instacart, but that's expensive. So a lot of times whenever I'm going to the store, I will just call her and ask her, can I bring you something? And I'm not doing it because I want anything, but sometimes I'll go over there and watch TV with her, and she's a really nice lady. But I tried to explain the whole YouTube thing, and she just, bless her heart, she just kind of nods and smiles, and she has no idea what I'm talking about. She's a sweetheart though, so she's not terribly interested in the whole YouTube thing. She's just like, well, that's your thing, honey. You do your thing. I'm glad you have something, you have a hobby you enjoy. That's good. No, I'm good. I don't need to be a part of that. I don't think it gives her the creeps for some reason. Anyway, so she as a way to say thank you, she's been teaching me how to decorate cakes, like do cake decoration with icing and stuff, because I suck at it, and I still suck at it. She's actually really good, and it's interesting because see, her hands shake. It's not Parkinson's, but she does have a little trouble, like, because she's older, But it's interesting because because she used to decorate cakes for a while when she was younger. That was what she did. She was a cake decorator. But when she's doing, got the bag with the icing, her hands are so still, like the shaking stops. It's very interesting. She is just still as she could be. Like, you could have been a surgeon. Look at you. She just laughs. But she's been trying to show me different techniques, to make like little roses and little leaves, different types of leaves and flowers, and how to write and make it look pretty on the cake, and what types of icing to use, and fondant. I can't touch fondant. Even she's not crazy about that. Like, I don't even want to go there. That stuff intimidates me. Anyway, so she's been showing me how to do a little bit of cake decorating, which is cool. And I did, I had a couple cakes that I decorated, and I took them to a couple of the homeowners association meetings. Of course, people complain because they have sugar in them, and oh, it's a sweet, you shouldn't be bringing junk. There's always somebody. It's like Harvest is sitting in there, and they have to say something about it. These crunchy people. No offense, but like, lighten up a little bit. It's okay. You can have a piece of cake or not. If somebody wants a piece of cake, just, we're all going to be dead in 100 years. None of us is going to get out of this alive. Eat a piece of cake. It's okay. But people get very upset if you say that to them, hypothetically. Because there was this one night, okay, I had worked all day. I was really tired. And I went to this meeting, hypothetically. And there is a woman who comes to some of these meetings, and she really reminds me of Harvest, like a real life Harvest. And, it's funny to play that part for a video just for fun. Dealing with Harvest in real life is not fun because they suck the fun. They suck the air out of the room. They take all the fun out of everything. And they seem to take great joy in being able to do that. They get a smile. Like, it makes them happy. It pleases them to do that. It's got to be some kind of personality disorder. I don't know what it is. Anyway, the first cake I took, okay, it wasn't beautiful, but the cake was good because, see, I would make the cakes here. And I really love the yellow cake mix from Aldi. It's 98 cents a box, and it's so good. It is delicious. It is the best yellow cake. In my opinion, it's the best I've ever bought in a box. Anyway, I would make that, and then I would just have the individual things, and then I'd go to Miss Margaret's house, just walk down there with my cakes, and then we, practiced icing the cakes, just doing the icing on them and getting it nice and pretty. I've gotten better at that. And then we let it kind of, harden a little bit. And then we start making the flowers and stuff. Well, I had one that I had practiced on, so it did look kind of haphazard, honestly. But it just had, the flowers were just on it all over the place. It looked really awful. But it was a practice cake. I mean, I practiced trying to put them on the side, and Miss Margaret said I'd probably do better to take like a piece of wax paper or parchment paper and make the flowers there with the icing, the stuff, and let it kind of dry and then stick it on the side of the cake. But you have to be really careful because they're very fragile, and you can't handle them very much because they'll break. Anyway, so I had this practice cake. We had a meeting coming up, so I thought, I'll just take it. I mean, whatever. That will be my contribution. It wasn't even my turn to bring food. I just, somebody else was bringing stuff. Just went ahead and brought it. And this Harvest wannabe is in there. And as soon as I walk in, she sees that I have this cake transporter thing, And she just looks at it like she's just totally disgusted. Like, you don't know what's in here. I mean, I didn't say that. I'm thinking, you have no idea what's in here. It could be a bunch of bean sprouts for all you know. And I opened it up and she looked at it and she goes, oh, thank God it's at least organic. Huh? So she said, well, look at it. What is that? That's, wow. I said, it's just a practice cake. It's no big deal. I just brought it, thought people might want some. And she tut-tutted me for bringing cake to the... Can we just eat? Can we just have some cake? I mean, I was not in a great mood. And I said, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. Can we just have a piece of cake tonight without you saying anything about it? You can have unexpressed thoughts. You don't have to eat it. Can the people who want a piece of cake just have a piece of cake? Can we do that? She filed a complaint against me. And I think that was the beginning of the end for me. Like, that's when I really officially decided I don't want to do this anymore. I cannot deal with these people. And I know why they have a hard time getting people to run for the board. Because it's just little petty stuff like that. I hope she runs for the board. The Harvest wannabe, I encouraged her to. This was a different meeting after I calmed down a little bit. After she filed the complaint, I said, you should run for the board. You really should, because I'm sure that if you were on the board, you could fix all these problems that we have. And when you deal with people, I'm sure you would have much more success dealing with them than the rest of us. And she just kind of rolled her eyes like, yeah, you're not going to do it, are you? She's just somebody that will complain, but she won't do anything. I think she goes to the board meetings so she can just tut-tut people about things. Anyway, I will be glad to not... She doesn't live near me in this neighborhood, thank God. So I don't have to deal with her. But, yeah, I was looking at okay, so here was one of my recommendations. So we send out mailings. I'm not a board member anymore, but when I was, we would send out these mailings every quarter. And what they were doing, I don't know why they were doing this, they would send out 2 separate mailings every quarter. There was one mailing with an invoice for your homeowner's fees, your HOA fees, which you have to pay every quarter. And then there was another mailing that was like just a little flyer of current events, things going on in the neighborhood, things coming up, stuff like that. I said, why are you mailing these out separately? You could put them both in the same envelope. In fact, you could probably fit, looking at the invoice, there's a lot of dead space on it, and the flyer has a lot of dead space. I said, you could fit all that on one page. And they have actually done that. This is the one here. The top half is the invoice, and then it's got a little dotted line. It says cut here. Cut and submit the top portion with your payment. And I also said, if people don't owe any money, why are you sending them anything? But now that we've combined it, I guess they put on, because I actually have a credit balance, because I pay mine once a year. It's not any cheaper, but it's just easier. I just go online and pay it once a year. But then we have the news section down here, and they included, I suggested a community night, which is something they used to do a long time ago, but they stopped. Where at the clubhouse, there's like a gazebo, and I said, wouldn't it be neat though to have a thing where like we could provide, I don't know, some food of some sort, and have everybody could just come and hang out, and maybe we could have some live music or something. And they're doing that. That's coming up later this summer. Yeah, they're gonna have live music. It says please bring your chairs, and you can bring coolers. So I guess you could bring your own drinks and stuff. I don't think they're providing drinks. I think they're just providing like hot dogs and hamburgers. That's cool. I bet Harvest didn't like that, but I don't care. Harvest can go kick rocks because I don't have to deal with her anymore. You might say theoretically she might give me some material if I ever want to do another Harvest video. All I have to do is recall my conversations with that lady. Hypothetically. Oh yeah, that was another point of contention. There's a mention on here about the people who do our landscaping here. They were raising their rates, and we went back and forth on whether or not to pay the increase or try to find somebody else. I voted to stay with that company because all the landscapers are raising their rates. They have to, because a lot of their materials and their labor has gone up. So they're not. It's not a huge increase. It wasn't a big increase, but I was outvoted, and they decided to go with this other company. I'm not going to say the name of it, but they decided to go with this other company, and I have not heard good things about them. But they took a vote, and everybody decided to go with the cheaper company. I just think they're going to regret it. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're great. I've just heard that they really cut corners, and they're not terribly professional, but they're cheaper. They're cheaper. They are, but I think sometimes you get what you pay for. Anyway, so it's nice to see that they implemented some of my changes. So it was funny when we were out walking. We went by Tripp's house. Has the wing bike. He still has the wing bike. He doesn't have the vroom vroom bike anymore. He worked on that bike forever trying to get it to run, and he could not get it to run. I think he finally got rid of it. He still has his Tesla, and he also recently bought one of those big fancy Ford. It's like a custom F-150. There's no telling what he paid for it. He lives up there with his parents. Now he still goes out in the driveway and does his selfies out there. Like he's been doing it with his truck. He'll go out in his truck and he'll make a video walking around the truck, and then he'll start it up and rev the motor and take pictures of himself in the truck, and he'll sit on his bike, take pictures of himself sitting on the bike, and then he puts it away. And I can see we had some trees cut, so I can actually see. I can see him now. Like it's not like I planned it, but Buffalo Bill next door, there was a great big tree in his backyard, and he had it cut down. I don't know why. It was a beautiful tree, but he just out of the blue decided to get it cut. So I can actually see Tripp's house. I don't know Tripp's name, hypothetically. I've never seen him wear anything but shorts and a t-shirt and like flip-flops, and he always has a baseball hat on backwards, and he just looks like his dad would call him sport. He's like mid to late 30s, and he lives there with his mom and dad, and I just call him Tripp with 2 P's because it just looks like that would be his name. I don't actually know his name, but when we were walking by his house, he was out there polishing his truck. That's not a euphemism. He was literally polishing the new truck. And he saw us, and he said, "Evening, folks. Oh, look at you." And he was pointing at me. He said, "Look at you. You look ruddy." Now, I am young. I am not young. I mean, good God, I'm 50. I don't know all of the sayings. And I have a 15-year-old. And every now and then he will say something. I have no idea what it means. And then he just laughs at me and calls me old. Yeah. I might have to change my will at some point, hypothetically. You keep calling me old. I might have to scratch some stuff out of my wheel. Anyway, so he called me Ruddy. Ruddy? Like Ruddy is what it sounded like. Because he said it twice. And I'm going, Ruddy? That, like, he said I look like the Marlboro Man. I don't know what the hell that means. Sorry. I apologize. So I don't know what that means, but he said I looked ruddy and I look like the Marlboro Man. I do not look like the Marlboro Man. Do you know what Marlboro Man looks like? Now, the Marlboro Man has a ruddy complexion. Maybe that's what he meant. I'm not really sure, but I'm not sure. I wasn't sure how to take it. So I just said, thank you. Have a nice evening. And we just moved on. And we were all kind of looking at each other like, what was that about? We didn't know. But the other night, I was out watering my plants. I feel bad. I planted some flowers in my front yard, and it's been so dry that they died. I forgot to water them for a few days, and they just curled up and died. So I dug them up, and I bought some more, and I planted them, and I have been doing my best to remember to water them every day because it's been very hot and very dry here. Like, we've had no rain. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I'm hoping it does. Because my yard looks terrible. It's terrible. I am not going to ever get yard of the month again with my yard the way it looks. It's very brown. And I don't feel like going out there to water it. You know, I mean, I could, but I don't want to. Like, I don't feel, it takes forever. And the water bill goes up. Anyway, so I was out there watering my plants because I got some new flowers and I planted them. And I was out there watering everything. And I heard the distinct sound of somebody shaking a can of spray paint. I mean, you know what it sounds like with the marble in there, you know? And I heard it like... And I looked, and it was Crazy Lady. That's not a real name, but there's a lady. And, you know, she pulled up Miss Margaret's flowers, and she got in trouble for that. I think she ended up having to do community service, allegedly, for that. And she had to pay to replace the flowers. She tried to say Miss Margaret stole them, I think. I don't know. It's really weird. But I saw her. She was out there. She's been very quiet. I'm not really sure. There's a man living there with her. I don't know who he is, hypothetically, but a man has moved in with her. Now, the house is in a constant state of disarray. I mean, it looks like nobody lives there, but they do live there. And I heard her out there shaking the can of spray paint, and the next morning I left for work. And she had spray painted her door. See, we have been in touch with her. I have not. Like, I cannot talk to her. We have a history. Somebody else is going to have to speak to her. So one of the other board members has been in touch with her. A lot of us are scared of her because she did, hypothetically, she did threaten to kill me. Oh my gosh, now it's like two years ago. And I said, I have a history with her. I had to call the police. I don't want to have any dealings with her directly. So, anyway, we've been talking to her because she randomly will spray paint stuff. Like, she spray paints stuff all over the house. And so we had to talk to her about that. Like, you cannot do that. It violates the HOA policy to, you know, you cannot spray paint. And, like, there's one point, and she said it was fine by her logic. And I did not talk to her directly. This is what I was told. So, for some reason, one night, she went out there and spray painted F-U, but she spelled it out, on the south-facing wall. She said, well, nobody can see it from the street. Now, you could see it if you were coming, because there's a street that comes this way. She said, well, so? I mean, nobody can see it, and I can spray paint whatever I want on my house. Long story short, she had to remove it. We made her... Well, she didn't really remove it. She just covered it up with, like, she just put more spray paint. So now there's just a giant block of, she took silver spray paint and for some reason and covered it with that. And it looks awful. So she would just randomly spray paint stuff on her house. And then she covers it up. And then she'll spray paint something else. She'll cover it up. It looks like the house is abandoned. It really does. And she started spray painting on the windows and stuff. But it went by, and I guess this is tame compared to the stuff she's done, but she had spray painted her door a very blotchy, uneven coat of lime, like a lime green, like a neon lime green color. And it's all over the door frame. And then she spray painted a neon lime green duck on her garage. Like, what's with the duck? Why a duck? And I wondered about it all day at work. Like, why a duck? I want to go ask her, but I don't want her to threaten me again. Like, what's up with the duck? What is that about? I don't know. But, yeah, so she's still there. Buffalo Bill, hypothetically, has a girlfriend. There's a lady. So Crazy Lady has a guy, I think. I'm not really sure what the nature of their relationship is. I don't know if he's a significant other. I don't know if he's a caretaker. He might be a family member. I have no idea. Oh, and hypothetically, she had been driving around with dealer tags on her car for over a year, and she must have finally gotten caught, because now she's just driving around with no tags at all. Yeah, she has no tags on her car, and she drives it all over. And the guy drives the car too. I don't think he has a car, so he just drives hers. There are no tags on this car, and he's just driving around. And I'm getting to where I see that more and more. Just off topic, but I see cars all the time with no tags. Just driving down the street. All over. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, so yeah, Buffalo Bill. Now this was hypothetically probably about a month ago. This lady moved in. Now again, I don't know the nature of their relationship because we don't really talk. He doesn't really talk much. There was that one time he complimented my hair. And that was back during COVID. So that was a while ago. He doesn't really speak. He's very quiet. Which is fine, because I'm kind of, I'm that way when I'm at home. Like, I don't want to talk to a bunch of people. I just want to do my thing, And this lady moved in. And she seems really nice. Now, she is really chatty. Now, when she moved in, she came right over and knocked on the door and introduced herself. She's really sweet. And so she was telling me that she is, she's a lady of business. And I'm thinking, what does that mean? Is that like code for something? Like, you're a lady of business? Well, yeah. But then she told me she makes and sells candles with upcycled goods that she finds at the landfill. They go to the landfill at night when no one's looking, and they've discovered that there's a part of the landfill that is not monitored. There are no cameras. There's nobody out there. They go scavenge the landfill to look for things to put in her candles. I don't know that that's a good idea, but anyway, so she said she finds interesting things to put in, like, in the candle. And see, that's part of the gimmick. Like, you have to buy the candle and burn it down to see what kind of stuff is in it. It could be literally anything. So she wanted to know if I wanted to buy a candle. She charges a lot for these candles. Hypothetically, I'm thinking, does a bag of meth come with it? Like, why is it so expensive? She was very insistent. She said, look, I'll give you the first one for a deal. Okay, so I bought one. It was $10, and it was tiny. She said they're normally $25, and I'm looking at it like, what? So it's small. So she said, with the smaller ones, I can't put as much interesting stuff in there. If you buy one of the bigger ones, there's really interesting stuff. You wouldn't believe the stuff we find out there. She just doesn't look like the type that would scavenge, like go digging through a landfill at night, but she totally does, hypothetically. And so I bought it. The weird thing about it, I didn't light it. I was afraid, like, I ended up throwing it away, hypothetically. The weird thing about it, okay, so the wax, she said that the wax is repurposed, but she didn't say where it came from. Because she said, well, it's repurposed wax. I said, repurposed from what? And she said, don't worry about it. I figured I better just leave it alone. This was, I damn sure wasn't going to light it. Like, ugh. So I bought this little candle. The weird thing about it was the wax never got hard. It was mushy. And it was in this little jar. Like, she gets these like old jelly jars and stuff, and she puts the stuff in there. So everything is like recycled. The Harvest chick would probably love these candles. And so, but I kind of touched it with my finger a little bit. The wax is mushy. Like, it's not, it doesn't doesn't feel like a candle ought to feel, in my opinion. So I just bagged it up in a bag and I just threw it away. Like, I'm good. I just hope she doesn't ask me to buy anymore. But she's been going around. She puts them in a little radio flyer wagon and she just goes around the neighborhood trying to sell these candles. And she said that's how she makes money. So, yeah, she's an interesting lady. So I don't know how they met. Like, I didn't ask any questions. It's really none of my business. Oh my gosh. But, we've had a lot of land cleared out around here lately. The dudes in trucks did make a brief appearance, but they were only here for a few days. It was on a weekend too, which was odd because typically I wouldn't see them on the weekends. And so they're clearing out this land, and they're going to build. It's a tire store. At first I thought I didn't know what it was going to be. They're going to build a tire store on this property. And I saw the trucks out there, and they were parked all in the cleared area. Because I went out there to ask them, you know, what are they building here? Because I just stopped by there because I was just curious. I saw the guys out there. I said, oh my God, it's the dudes in trucks, because I haven't seen them in a while. And one of them was really snarky. The only one guy hypothetically would speak to me, because, you know, they're very tight-lipped. They don't say much. He was kind of rude. He said, well, wouldn't you like to know? I said, I would. That's why I stopped. He said, I'm not telling you anything. But I found out later, I have a friend who works for the city and works in the planning department. And they deal with, not the planning department, but the people that issue titles and stuff like that. And like deeds and transfers of deeds and whatever. Anyway, apparently it's going to be at some sort of tire store. I don't know. But I don't know what the dudes in trucks are doing. But again, they were just standing out there. All they ever do is just stand around. They were just standing out there. It was early on a Saturday morning, and they were drinking their coffee. And very flippant. Just, I didn't appreciate that. Nobody said they were from the pipeline. That one guy was just snotty to me. So the only other, what else has happened around here? The only other thing I know of, my FU trees are growing beautifully. You know, I have the neighbors on the other side of me that have been a problem, and they've been growing, you know, there's that period of time where they were growing crops over my fence. They don't do that anymore since we went out there with a weed whacker and cut them, and the lady freaked out. So it's kind of an eyesore back there. So I had a wall of, I call them FU trees, because it's going to be, eventually it'll be a wall where I can't see their backyard anymore. They're coming along beautifully. Miss Margaret also, allegedly, theoretically, she shared with me her secret peanut butter cookie recipe. And because they're so good. I said, how do you make these? They're crispy. They're like a little crispy, but they just like they melt in your mouth. And they're so delicious. I said, how do you do that? So she shared her peanut butter cookie recipe with me. And it was really great. But then Joe next door found out that she shared it because he's been asking her for it. Apparently, she shared some of her cookies with him, and he's been like demanding. I said, well, that was your mistake. You don't demand the recipe. You could try being nice. He said, I am nice. I am the nicest MFer you'll ever find. I am generous as F. Like, yeah, I can tell. You're really sweet. You know, you say that through gritted teeth, and you're always bragging about how much you do for people, and you only do it because you want people to think you're awesome. But she's not going to give you that recipe. He wants the recipe because he said he thought he could sell it. Like, how are you going to sell that? It's actually, I mean, it's pretty standard. I think it's just something special in the way she makes them. You know, I think the way you make something, I think it's more than just following a recipe. Because there's just something special that some people can do when they make food that just, it makes it taste better. I don't know, it's prepared with love or something. But he was mad when he found out that she gave me that recipe. I didn't tell him. I don't know who told him. She might have told him just to piss him off. I don't know. But he's a little bit further down the street. He's a little closer to her, and she might have told him to tick him off because he was so mean to her. I don't know. But anyway, it's like a burden off me to be off that board. I don't think I could have taken anymore because people are terrible. It can make you lose faith in humanity to be on a board like that. Because everybody hates you. Everybody hates you. Like, you can't please anybody. And I'm just by nature, I'm just kind of a people pleaser, and it makes me feel really bad if somebody's not happy with me. But it's weird because then it's this whole, it doesn't jive, because I also get mad when people try to tell me what to do. So it's like, I want to please people, but if you start barking orders at me, I will move heaven and earth to do the exact opposite of what you want me to do. I don't know. It's complicated, but I am very relieved to be off that board, hypothetically. And that means Joe will stop trying to bribe me. I won't have to walk around and have Tripp call me the Marlboro Man again, which was weird. That's the most he's ever said to me. It was very odd. But I look ruddy, apparently. It was ruddy. It wasn't ready. It was ruddy. Anyway, that is about it. But, you know, with this being my first night, that I'm kind of free of the whole thing, and I don't have to go to any more. I'm not going to any more meetings for a while. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want anybody trying to stop me walking in thinking I'm still a board member to tell me their problems. I just want to just sort of separate myself from it for a while. They can vote on whatever, do whatever, I don't care. But I was really happy to see that they changed this, so it will save them money on paper and postage. I don't know why they were mailing them out separately anyway. Like, that's a really easy way to save money right there. Just put them together, you have one mailing. So it looks like they took my idea and they actually did it, so that's very cool. So maybe in my own little way I made a difference, at least with that. So that was very cool. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed hearing about my neighborhood a little bit. It's always so much fun to sit here and tell you about it. And thank you so much for being here. I really hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you again soon.